Okay, so last Saturday, this live stream did not go well at all. My internet basically died on me. So I started it, had to stop it, tried to start it again, it would not start, and then ended up having to delete the little small videos that were created. But I'm back now. And I haven't been doing a lot of live streams. I was doing live streams 6 days a week because I enjoyed it so much and I had a really cool project. But something pulled me away from that. Something I'll share today, which is all about spending 10 years of your life doing artwork, 10 years trying to figure things out, and doing it daily, by the way. I do artwork every single day, and I have for the past 10 years. I'm really proud of it. But recently, what has happened is I looked at my breadth of work that I've created, and I wasn't happy. I'm still not very happy with it. Hey, Thinker. Glad that you're here, as long as you can stay. So, I actually went on a trip with my dad, and then I came back, and then I was really thinking about what I'm going to be doing, what I want to do, changes within my art career kind of idea. And through a lot of introspection, what I found was that after 10 years of working, after 10 years of doing art every single day, I hadn't really understood who I was, or who I am as an artist, or who I want to be. And now I'm on this journey, this different journey. I've changed things up dramatically to find that person. And I'm telling you about it because I think anybody that's on this artistic journey, regardless of how long you've been on it, can learn from, my journey. I'm not going to say mistakes because it's kind of like a negative connotation. We all make mistakes. I think mistakes are what gets us to improve. It's what makes us who we are. It is how we get better, is through mistakes. And I'm the kind of person that wants to love mistakes, wants to really enjoy them and praise mistakes when I have them, because they're little indications of how I can improve, how I can change, how I can get better. But when there's 10 years of, when you look back and you feel like it's a big mistake, what I've done, or maybe not really a mistake in that sense, but maybe not the right direction, because that's something that artists are always afraid of. Like, we don't want to go down this route or choose a school or choose a curriculum online where it ends up not being what we want to do in the future, this kind of thing. So here's what I've done. And it's based in a lot of strategy. It's based in a lot of learning. It's based in a lot of information that I've seen over the years and I've collected. And my good friend Josh has helped me with, because we have meetings on Saturday, every Saturday, and we help each other. He helps me more than I help him all the time. We help each other with these kind of, big life questions, small life questions, everything in between. And one of the things that has become tremendously apparent with learning as an artist over the lifetime as an artist is an iterative approach to skill building. The original idea of this came from Sycra. It's a really popular video that he has. Just look up SYCRA, that's the name that he goes by on YouTube. And iterative approach, I think, or iterative drawing, I think he talks about. It's a fairly long-winded video, but I'll give you a short kind of synopsis of it. And let's do it visually. How about that? Because we're artists. I'm just going to insert a new layer. And then I'll hide this one. So the visual approach is something like this. When the iterative approach is something like this. When you're starting a painting and you need to work on your drawing fundamentals. So let's say you're drawing your figure, right? And you're figuring out proportions, you're figuring out line, you're figuring out anatomy, all kinds of stuff for this figure that you're drawing. Whatever it may be, this wonderful stick figure that I have here. And this painting that you're working on is 20 by 30. It's a really big painting, and the entire time that it takes you, and this is coming directly from my life as well, is 30 days to complete this one painting. And you've probably spent maybe 5 hours at max, maybe 1 hour on just the drawing aspect, the proportion, the figure itself, the things that you need to work on. So out of the 30 days it's taken you, you've only spent a total of maybe 1 day on what you need to work on. Hopefully you already see where I'm getting at here. So in a whole year, you've only worked on drawing 12 times. And you've made 12 paintings, if you do one painting a month, that you're unhappy with the drawing. You're unhappy with the proportion. You're unhappy with your progression. So the change is this. Do smaller paintings. Really small paintings. Or not even paint at all. Draw. Do something tiny. Do something where you could get in the reps every single day. And it focuses specifically on your shortcomings, what you want to focus on. So on day 1, you finish a drawing. On day 2, you finish one drawing. Every single day. And then it compounds. It's not a linear approach where you get better after each one. It's not perfectly mathematical, but the compounding rate of improvement is there. So within 30 days, you've done 30 drawings, or maybe you do just drawings and you could do 5 or 6 in one day, something like that. Your improvement is tremendously faster. So this is the iterative approach. And it's powerful. It's very powerful because you can use this not only for basic skills, fundamentals like drawing, proportion, or perspective. But you could use this for things like finding my voice. Now, this is what I was lacking. There's such a focus for us as artists to think about galleries. I mean, that's what I think about as a traditional artist. I think about galleries. What do galleries want? You know, somebody that wants to buy my work, somebody that wants to live with my work. I think about money. I think about family. I think about comments on my work. And whether well-intentioned or not, these are parts of your life that will kind of affect who you are. And it's part of your life, and yet it's not. Because we're all a product of our environment. We're all a product of what's around us. We're all a product of who we hang out with and things like that. But there's always something different, some kind of spark within us that we need to find. And we have to take in all of these different inputs and at the same time filter out what is truly me and you. So we have to have some kind of filter. And it's hard because if you want to do a certain type of work, yet you need to make the money, or you want to make a business out of it, or you want to please your family, or you want to listen to your teacher's comments and make sure that you do the assignment well. You look at what other artists do and you think, well, I need to do that in order to actually make a living at this. I mean, finding your voice is just like finding a filter for all these. Filtering it out and having the agency to say, yeah, that's a really good comment. I like that, but it's really not me. Or yes, I really love that idea, but what if I change it around? What if I make it a little bit different? Something closer to who I want to be. And now, I'm going to say this is different than style. Although, through the iterative approach, you find your quote-unquote style a lot quicker. Because you're completing something, you know, painting after a painting after a painting. I mean, really, what style is what you like, filtered out what you don't like, what you enjoy, what moves you, what interests you, what makes you feel good. That's what really makes your style. And you only arrive at that from doing the work, from putting in the reps. That's where style comes from. Too often, and I've done this before as well, you think about stylistic concerns before the fundamentals, or before even knowing how to draw. And if you think about it, where does that come from? You know, you see this wonderful piece of art, that you really love, and you say, oh my gosh, that is just absolutely beautiful. It's so fantastic. I want to do that. And so you basically look at that style, quote unquote, and you start to copy from it. And that's what begins, your art career in most cases. And then it becomes about style, This is where you start. And you're like, wow, why can't my stuff look like their stuff? Why can't I make it look as good? And then hopefully at one point you start figuring out that, oh, it's really the fundamentals. They arrived at their style because they knew the fundamentals so well that they could let go of them and actually speak within this visual language that we have. Like, it so well that the words no longer get in the way. It's just like someone learning to speak English or a new language. The words are kind of disjointed and halting and, placed in the wrong area, and it doesn't sound right. It's not. You could tell that they're caring so much about getting each word right that they can't really put a sentence together that makes sense. Maybe they can get their thoughts and feelings across, or they get the idea across, but they won't compose poetry. So art's like that. So I'm at a point where I go through 10 years or so, 10 years plus, and I realize, man, I'm an amalgamation of all kinds of others' input, and it's not me. It really isn't. It doesn't feel like me. What I'm doing is not me. And so I'm making changes. So to find my voice specifically, and I'm doing it through a visual approach. And part of what you're seeing right now is that. I'm trying to do this while being eloquent, speaking on a stream in some way, trying to influence you in some way, and not sound like a complete idiot. So the focus here on my art is not the best. On what I'm doing is not the best. So bear with me on that one. What I'm doing is a little bit of letting go. Letting go of care for what people think about my work. And thinking more about expression. Thinking more about brushwork and brush economy. How can I express the most simplistic idea powerfully? How can I express myself within just a few brushstrokes? And you may ask, well, why are you doing it that way? Okay, yeah, Chris, we're talking about voice and all that, and trying to find your voice, but what does this have to do with you finding your voice at all? What does this have to do, how is that going to help me find my voice? Okay, we understand that you're trying to do some stuff, but how can I do it? Well, the one thing that I like is practical approaches. And with the just tremendous wealth of information that we have at our hands at this time in our lives, I did a search on Google. And I'm going to show you a few things here. First, I want to show you this wonderful article that I found. And this is by, let me get it centered up here so you can see it. So I'll put this link in the show notes. So how have I found my artistic voice, and you can too. So this is Christy Gordon, and she has a very authentic voice, and her artwork is beautiful, just fantastic floral, all kinds of stuff going on. It's just beautiful work. I love the work, and you can see that it's completely her. Like, I think we all know this. When we see certain works and it's different than anything we've ever seen, it's one of those things where you go, wow, this is definitely that person. And I read through this article, and when I share it, actually, I'll go ahead and put it in chat. When I'll share it, I hope you would read through it as well, because as I was reading through it, I was thinking, oh, okay, please get practical on this, because she's talking about how she found her voice as an artist and really moved away from doing things for others and really finding what she loves. And she has some very practical tools that you can take in. I mean, she says it here, actionable practices to help find your artistic voice. And we're going to go through some of those. A miracle list. This is fantastic, by the way. This transcends just art in some ways, in a lot of ways. And what this brings me back to is I did the Optimize coaching program for coaching individuals. And this is what we call the personal development fundamentals. And through learning about personal development and the fundamentals for humans and also for you yourself specifically, you run into things that you try out, lots of stuff that you try out. Different writing techniques, different exercise techniques, ways to sleep, ways to eat, all kinds of stuff. And you take on everything, and then you find what works for you and what doesn't work for you. A great example is, for me, sleep. I know that I need to be in bed for at least 10 hours every night so I can get 7.5 hours of sleep because I don't sleep well. And if I can do that, I wake up like Superman. I have fantastic focus and energy throughout the day, and my chances of creating a fantastic painting go through the roof. That's on my quote-unquote miracle list that she has here. That's number one for me. If I don't get that, everything else kind of falls apart. And then there's other things: exercise, getting up every 30 minutes for my back, eating right, not eating at a certain time before bed, shutting off all technical stuff before bed. All kinds of stuff goes into that. So I've made my own miracle list, which I won't share with you here. But that's really, really important. And then a questionnaire for artists. And this is one of those things where you look at it and you do your gut responses. So just an absolutely fantastic article. Now, the next thing I found, and I'm going to say thank you to Adam Duff from Lucid Pixel, the YouTuber. If you haven't seen his channel, Adam Duff, on YouTube, please check it out. He focuses mainly on digital artists, and he does a mentoring program, but he takes on all of these aspects of art that most YouTubers, teachers, and everyone out there forget. The life fundamentals that really need to line up just so you can show up and do your art right, the way you want to, or even at all. And he talks a lot about a tattoo he has called Know Thyself, just like finding your voice. And he gives a lot of wonderful advice on that. And the funny thing is he's not exactly my age. I don't know when he was born, but he's 47 years old. I'm 47 years old. And I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't tremendously envious of him, because I mean, here he is with a successful mentoring program and really doing nothing but art every single day and helping other artists, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I look up to him tremendously, professionally and personally. And that was kind of like a real big segue to talk about this program. I found Milanote, milanote.com. I love this thing. I was listening to one of his videos, and yeah, he was talking about it. He showed it off, and I'm like, this is a perfect visual way to understand yourself, or to understand what you're working on. He uses it to plan out a lot of paintings. I'm using it to find my voice, to organize a lot of like artistic information, artists I love, and quotes and things like that. But yeah, check it out. I would suggest, if you do anything within your artistic career, is please, please, please make some notes on what you learn, what you like, what you dislike, everything about your art. If you do a drawing or a painting or a series of drawings in a day, take the time at the end of the day to, however you can easily, typing it out, writing it out, speech to text, whatever, but getting that information down so you can review it later. It's so important. And these are from the article. So you have to really do the work. Reading this article is one thing, but you need to go through the steps in order to really find your voice, know thyself. And I really wish I had done something like this, 8-9 years ago, where I focused on finding my voice first, and I knew about iterative approaches, did small paintings, and stuck to who I wanted to be as an artist rather than being distracted by all of the other shinies that are out there. So I wrote out from this article things to think about moving forward. Be quiet and still enough to listen to my inner voice, then boldly do what it tells me. I do have a meditation practice. I don't do it as often as I would like. But meditation is one of those things where there's nothing but you there. It's you and your thoughts. And really coming to terms what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you need to do, what you want to do, about the art that you did today, about the art you want to do tomorrow, about the problems in your life. All of this stuff will come up. And you learn to be quiet. You learn to put down your cell phone, stop watching the live stream, and stop watching YouTube, and have all this input. There's a Zen koan that I was listening to a few days ago. The Zen koan is basically a story for Zen teachers to help Zen students kind of break away from their attachments to everything in life. So reporter goes in to interview a Zen monk, and the Zen monk, or the Zen master, has tea. It's a tea ceremony. And at the very beginning, they both sit down, and the Zen master begins pouring tea into the reporter's cup. And then it reaches the top of the cup, and he keeps pouring. And it begins to overflow. And the Zen master continues to pour. And it overflows onto the table, begins to reach the side of the table, and the reporter looks up and says, "It's full. You can't put any more in it." And he says, "You're just like this cup. You're so full of your own ideas and your own opinions that you can't add anything else in." And that really struck me, because most of the time today, with all of the information that we have, it's a blessing that we have access to tons and tons of information. But at the same time, it's a curse, because we don't have that space for ourselves. We don't have that space for us to just sit there and think and kind of detach away from everything else and find out who the heck we are, right? What we love, what we dislike. And so it becomes something that's, or we become something that's different, something that's not us. We can't put anything else in. We're already full of all of the media, all of the social media that's out there, all of everything. And so we need to sit. We need to be quiet. We need to find who we are. Experiment. Be vulnerable. Create shitty work to figure yourself out. I did a series of paintings, of figure paintings on vulnerability, and it was inspired by Brené Brown's books, where she talks a lot about vulnerability. Vulnerability is the beginning of emotions, where you allow yourself to be vulnerable. You allow yourself to experience. You allow yourself to let in difficult emotions. It reminds me of, as a man that grew up in a fairly male-centric environment in Kentucky. And I think a lot of men, a lot of people that identify as men can relate to this. Crying in public is a no-no. You don't do that. Sorry. And even, I would say, for anyone that identifies as women as well. Sorry, we don't want to. We don't want to deal with your emotions, even in a movie theater. But allowing that to happen, first you need to be vulnerable. And first you need to get rid of all that macho shit that you have. And be vulnerable. And allow the emotions to happen. And part of that is being vulnerable enough to allow yourself to fail, to create shitty work, to create work that you're like, wow, that really sucks. I really hate that. I really dislike what I just did. That is part of finding yourself. Knowing what you don't like is part of finding your style, finding yourself, finding your voice, knowing thyself. It's a duality, like Alan Watts talks about all the time. It's not just about what is, but it's also about what isn't. It's not just about the earth, but it's about the space around it. It's not just about the positive, but it's also about the negative. The concave, the convex. If there's light, there's always dark. You can't have one without the other. So when you figure out that you do something you don't like, oh, well, you've kind of figured out what you do like, because there's an opposite to that, isn't there? You're getting closer. Make a lot of work. Look at a lot of work you love. Paint a lot. Don't get too theoretical. Work it out in front of the easel. Make a lot of work. I'm going to say look at a lot of work you love and hate. Because I think it's important to know both what you love and what you hate. And make a lot of it. Again, we're back to that iterative approach. And don't get too theoretical about it. Don't get so deep into the minutia that you're, and this is my tendency, you're so technical into the materials, into the paints, and into everything else that's out there that your cup is full. You can't even be vulnerable. Because you have so many little ticks and bells and whistles and processes and books around you while you're painting that you have no space for yourself. Work it out in front of the easel. Part of what I've done recently, and if you're watching my website, if you're watching, I'm trying to post in the community the paintings I'm creating, you'll see that I'm creating these little small paintings every day, 6x6 paintings. And it's me, it's an image, and it's my paintbrushes, and that's it. I don't have any other processes. It's very simple. I don't use a very complex palette. Heck, even my room doesn't have anything in it right now. Of course, we're moving, but that's neither here nor there. But you work it out in front of the easel. So by learning to listen to your inner voice and intuition, you will know what you need most. It's fantastic. Learning to listen. Remove as much as you can. Limit yourself as much as you can. If you need to work on your draftsmanship, on your drawing, and you know you really want to be a great draftsman, that comes first. Someone tells you, oh, you need to draw better. Do you? Really be still and figure that out. But if you know you do, you want to be a great draftsman, dumb it down to the most simple materials that you can get. Buy one of those big bricks of copy paper, paper that you put in your printer. Perfect paper for drawing on. And use graphite. Just a pencil. Get one of those old school number 2 yellow pencils and a big stack of copy paper and just start frickin' drawing. You don't need some special pencil, it's not going to help you. You don't need some special paper, that's not going to help you either. You don't need any of that stuff. You just sit there and you start drawing as much as you can. I am the music I like, the clothes I like, the art I like, and the beliefs I have. And you could probably add a whole bunch more into that. This goes back to, what's around you influencing you. And so what you're looking at here is me also being vulnerable, allowing for backlash and hatred and negative opinions of me and all this other kind of stuff. Because I'm actually doing this painting from digital art. And a lot of my latest paintings, these 6x6 paintings, have been tremendously influenced by AI-generated artwork. Because unapologetically, there's a lot of it out there that is beautiful, that I like. I think is absolutely fantastic looking. Compositionally, it's wonderful in some ways. Color is wonderful in some ways, The ability to do shape design is amazing. And it's essentially AI generated work, and I'm not going to get too deep into this, is just a big mismatch of our connection between everything we as humanity like in art. That's what Midjourney is. It looks at everything that we enjoy most and it says, oh, okay, I'll just spit that right back at you. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate that. And I say, okay, cool. I like that. I don't care where it comes from. I'll look at Jackson Pollock. I'll look at, Damien Hirst. I'll look at, any kind of artist that is, on the forefront of shocking in some way. Pull from them whatever I need to find my voice, to help me out. So I am the music, I am the art, I am the clothes, I am the beliefs. Specifically, I am what I like, what I enjoy, what I gravitate to. And I think all of that influences your art, right? And one thing that I've done, and I think a lot of people do when they get a certain age, is they start caring. I remember going into high school. I went to this all-boys Catholic school. Ugh. I look back at it, and yeah, I know my parents were trying to give me a really good education. But that was not me at all. I had to look a certain way, I had to dress a certain way. Ugh, wear ties every day, that is not me. And the fact that I know that, the fact that now I wear what's comfortable for me, what I enjoy, and I could care less what anybody thinks, except for my wife. That's part of what influences my art. What is my goal for these paintings? So I'm doing a bunch of small works, but I want to have a goal within it, goal setting. The type of goals that you can set, you say, okay, I'm going to forget it because I'm on that trajectory, but I'm not going to focus too much on it. Still figuring that out. Try intuitive painting with no judgment on how it looks. Oh, the more I do this, the more I love it. I'm finding artists like Quang Ho. I love Quang Ho, Quangho. He has some absolutely beautiful work. I'll show you some art I admire. So this is a piece by Quang Ho. I love, and this is what I've really figured out recently with myself, by being quiet, by simplifying my life, cutting out a lot of stuff, I found out that the artists I really love are the ones that look like the painting exploded, yet it's an object. It's a beautiful composition. It's deconstructed, but there's something there. It's visually exciting and masterful in the same aspect. It is the abstract expressionism with good draftsmanship. Right? It's the Jackson Pollock without the Jackson Pollock. Quang Ho is one of those artists. And I've collected other artists that I like a lot. I really love this by Greg Beecham, Beecham. Look at the texture. This person has just thrown all of the paint on there. Monet. I have no idea who this individual is, and hopefully they're out there. Ali Lebrock. Very French, I think. Robert Liberace, I've always loved his work. Fetchin, Nikolai Fetchin, Kevin McPherson, Anne Gale. Here's a very unapologetic, vulnerable way of painting. Fantastic works. And this person I found on Pinterest, Sue Charles. How beautiful that is with just simple geometric shapes and brushstrokes. Richard Schmid. So good. I don't always love their subject matter. And what I'm looking at here is how they handle the material, how they handle the brushwork, how they handle the expressiveness, how after mastering those fundamentals, they take them and they create something beyond. They let go. This is an example of just letting go. So I've been doing that in a lot of these small paintings, especially yesterday's painting, which you'll see eventually. I almost intentionally wanted to make a really ugly piece of work, just throwing the paint everywhere, but didn't get that far into it. Help other artists. Make my miracles list. Those are two things. I've already done the miracles list, but right now I hope to help other artists as well. Here's a quote from the article. Write out the story of your creativity from the beginning until now. Clean the slate. Release the pain that blocks you. Oof. Talk about introspection. That's a really good practice. Something that I will do in the future. Morning Pages. There's a wonderful book. I never read it. I started reading it and then I put it down because it just didn't sit well with me. I'll probably try and reread it. Julia Cameron did a book. And The Artist's Way, I think? Can't remember. Julia Cameron. But she has this way of doing morning pages. I'm going to have to try that out. But basically, it is free writing in the morning. There's no thought to it. You just start writing. It's kind of like just letting your mind go, and whatever comes out of it just ends up on the page. Talk about a way of finding your voice. Just let it go and capture it. Stop being a perfectionist. The antidote to fear is wonder. Replace your fear of being imperfect with a curiosity about what it will look like when you follow what interests you, and listen to your gut. I love that. The paintings I was doing before, on this whole live stream, I did a tiger painting. And several paintings before that, it was really this kind of perfectionistic approach. And I gave a lot of practical methods. I have some tutorials on my Gumroad for that. And I'm not sure if I'm ever going to go back to that approach. It was so specific. There was so much of that. What did I say before? Looking for a word. So much theoretical theory or theoreticalness. That's a word in it. It wasn't allowing me to let go and to do what I wanted. It wasn't allowing me to just be expressive. And I'm finding that I'm moving away from that. And it's good because I'm happier. I'm completing these paintings every day and I'm finding that I'm a lot happier. I'm getting closer to my voice. And it's all because I'm being curious. I'm replacing fear with wonder, perfectionism with curiosity. I'm listening to my gut. Do what comes naturally. I remember a couple years ago, I was thinking about, I wanted to do a painting series of people. And I wanted to do an image of someone that is the perfect representation of who they are. And I felt like the only way to really show an image of a person of exactly who they are is if I can do a painting of someone in the bathroom behind a closed door. Or when they're at home alone by themselves. I think that is when we are who we truly are. Those times when we're alone, where nobody's watching, no one can hear us. Sometimes you see it in the car when you're driving down the interstate because you kind of feel like, and other people kind of feel like that no one can see them because you're going 70 miles an hour and you really don't care anyways. So you look at some person or you glance to the side and, you know, they're singing at the top of their lungs and gyrating in their car. You know, they're not going to do that at their job. They're not going to do that in public. But I tell you what, if they're at home alone, the music's blaring and they're screaming and having a fun time with themselves and doing what comes naturally. You know, if I could capture that while I'm painting, you know, within myself. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. That's my voice. Give yourself permission. Freedom isn't given, freedom is taken. I think that quote is so important. One of the things that I've done recently with my job and with everything else around me is I decide what I'm going to do with my time. Remove your free time through your day. Now, I'm not saying, you know, always be busy doing something. But Never have a time within your day that isn't like set aside for something for you. I think a blank calendar is a perfect opportunity for everyone else to take your time away from you. It's a perfect opportunity for people to take that freedom from you. And this is, I've really noticed this at my job. If I don't put on my calendar that I need to work on this and get this done, inevitably 2 days before that day comes, it's full because people have scheduled meetings and things like this. So if you don't set aside the time for your art, people will take it from you. I know that sounds kind of self-centered, but you have to make time for yourself. You have to take your own freedom. You have to give yourself permission to do things for yourself. And that's so important. Yeah, I love you. I really appreciate you. But that's my art time. I'm sorry. It's really important to me that I do my art at this time today. How about we reschedule? So here's some things I want you to think about. These questions are directly from the article, and she says on here, answer these questions with your first gut response. But that didn't happen for me. I had to, for some reason, I had to sit there and really think about it. Every single one. Because, I don't know, maybe being in front of a computer, reading the article, ads going on the side of the panel, or what, I don't know what it was, but I'm not at that point where a gut response could actually respond. My cup is too full. So she says, answer these questions with your first gut response, then go back and go deeper. Why did you answer the way you did? Look for an epiphany, something surprising about your answers. This is your point of view. Your point of view is so prevalent, it's hard for you to see. To find your artistic voice, show me how you see the world. I love that. Your point of view is so prevalent, it's hard for you to see it. It's kind of like, fish don't know that they're in water. We don't recognize that we're swimming through air either, but we are. It's so ubiquitous that it's hidden. So here are the questions. When and where were you happiest painting? And I could go through my answers, but I don't think we need to. When and where were you happiest painting? Or drawing, doing art? When and where were you happiest? That wasn't easy for me. I had to really think about it. Here's an easy one. Which living artist do you admire the most? That one was interesting. It was very interesting. Because I know a lot of dead artists. Unfortunately, a lot of the artists or a few artists that when I was alive, they are alive or now passed, unfortunately. But I still admire them. What's your all-time favorite painting? Now, I didn't know if she meant painting that I've done or just all-time favorite. I'm pretty sure she means just all-time favorite painting. That is so hard. I mean, I look at, I probably have 6,000 images of art on my computer, and I look at them all the time for influence, for trying to understand what I like and what I hate, to find my own voice in that way. Trying to pick just one painting is very difficult. What do you hate seeing in others' work? What do you hate seeing in others' work? This is a fantastic question, and I think it's one of the easiest ways to approach a lot of this finding and searching within ourselves, because it is so much easier for us to express what we dislike rather than what we like. And I have to think that that comes from, an evolutionary perspective. As animals, as human animals, we have evolved. Our distant ancestors were in the wild, had to be careful for the other animals, the cliffs, the thorns, the bad bear. Was always looking out for things that would end your life. And so our brains are developed to find the negativity so much easier than the positivity. So what you hate seeing, and like I was talking about before, that there's always two sides to a coin. Where there's heads, there's always tails. There's always two ends to a stick. If you can understand what you dislike, you're getting a lot closer to what you like. What is your favorite painting that you've ever done? There you go. So, all-time favorite painting, and then what's your favorite painting that you've ever done? Again, this was really hard because, like most artists, I hate everything I do. Or everything I did. In the moment, I'm like, oh, this is really good. This is awesome. And then you post it online somewhere and you go, wow, really? Like, something happened in between, the light from the painting hitting the camera lens to it getting digitally and then posted on my website. The ugly fairy came and hit it with a stick. That's what happens to my work. So trying to find my favorite painting that I've ever done, not so easy. So what's your favorite painting that you've ever done? Or drawing, digital painting, sculpture, whatever. What recurring themes and techniques do you see in your past work? I mean, that was kind of easy for me, like right away, figure. I love the human figure. Small, large, doesn't matter. Whatever sex, whatever race, whatever, doesn't matter. Figure. And then I started to understand through that question a little bit more about myself. And now, if you don't already know, and this is part of, I hate promoting myself, but I think this is really important. What I was talking about earlier is having this kind of log, and I've talked about this before, of your artwork. Now, I do it ridiculously. You don't have to do this. Please don't do this. Make it easier on yourself. But if you want to go this route, maybe it's easy for you. I mean, it became easy for me now. But this log of my work every single day for the past, I don't know, 10 years in January. So almost 10 and a half years. So I can go all the way back to the beginning. Where's it at? Very first painting right here. January 26, 2013, right there. So I can go all the way back and I can look at through all of these paintings, all of these days, and see what I was thinking and understanding in my work, trying to understand, trying to do. So the question that she asked here is, what reoccurring themes and techniques do you see in your past work? If you have no log whatsoever of your art, your paintings, what you've done, that's going to be a bit hard for you to answer. I mean, all of your past work is telling you what you enjoy because you've done it. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's you understand that everything you've done in the past was what for other people. Have that log. Even if it's very personal. I've talked about a friend of mine, Jeff Veggie, that just has a private Instagram account and just takes a photo of everything he does every day. He puts it on his private Instagram account. So easy, Like you could just take your photo, leave it in your phone, upload it to iCloud or Google Photos, and you'll have a perfect, connection, visual connection with your art over the years. It's something you can look back on. That is so positive in so many ways. There's so much you can get out of it. You can look back and see how much you've improved. You can look back and get motivated of how much you've done. It's so informative. What recurring themes and techniques do you see in your past work? What do you wish you would see in galleries that you don't see? What's missing? I love that question. I love that question. What do you wish you would see in galleries that you don't see? What's missing? I'll tell you what. I'll talk about this one. What I don't see in galleries. Now, if you go to like your local gallery, I'm not talking about like the Seattle Art Museum or the Tacoma Art Museum or the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. Those are really outside of this scope. We're talking about, you go to any place around where you live in whatever country, and there's going to be galleries of art, where random unknown artists that are just making art, that love painting and love drawing, are showing their work. What do you see, or what do you not see there that you wish was there? What I see is a lot of artists that do work that will sell. They do beautiful work. A lot of really pretty landscapes, still life, things that they enjoy, birds. Maybe you'll see a figure here and there because, figures are so hard. It takes a lot of skill. And my answer to this question is I want to see the same small work, but with a much higher skill level, and most importantly, a narrative, an emotional narrative. I want to see these paintings say something. I was just listening last night to another one of Adam Duff's videos, and the title of the video is fantastic. Boring, or what is it? Bad art is better than boring art. And I connect with that so well. I'd rather see paintings that are not executed well, but are trying to make an emotional statement. And if you go into student works, like student galleries, like that are just beginning, they're in high school or grade school, if the teacher is free enough to let them express themselves, you will begin to see emotion. And then, I did the same thing. I did a lot of emotional work. You get a lot of backlash from it. No one wants to see it. No one wants to buy it. Blah, blah, blah. Then guess what? You're back to the pastoral landscapes and the cute little still lifes with oranges and things like that I've done all the time. Yeah, I want to see emotional narrative and story. And so guess what I'm doing? That's what I'm trying to do in my work. So what do you wish you would see in galleries that you don't see? What's missing? What's missing? And the last question, what's your first memory of painting? What's your first memory? Art is a journey. It's going to have its pitfalls. You're going to do years of work. And some of that will be completely down the wrong path, and you'll figure that out later. And you go, oh, darn it. I wasted all that time. But you really didn't. I didn't waste a lot of time. I spent 10 years building up my skill and figuring out a bunch of stuff and improving in a lot of ways. And now I'm at this point where I'm finding my voice. And I want you to find your voice as well. I want you to actually utilize the article that I went through today. It's not mine. I have no idea how to find my voice, right? I'm using this article to help me. It's a wonderful thing about having all this information at our fingertips. Thank you for listening to me. If you're still here listening, I appreciate you. And I hope that this live stream is helpful. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to shoot me a message, email me, whatever. I like responding to anyone. With that, have a wonderful weekend.